Hello everybody, welcome back to my sunroom here in East Tennessee. Fall is coming, and around this time of the year I like to do an update on my Cattleyas. It's a really important time of the year to pay close attention to what your Cattleyas are doing, because once the new growths stop growing for the year, it's time to pull back on the fertilizer and tweak your care a little bit. So let me show you some of the Cattleyas that I have in my collection. Yes, I'm being a little mysterious here because you all haven't seen all of them yet. And I'll show you when it's time to change your fertilizer and stop the seaweed extract with your Cattleyas. My channel is sponsored by the Orchid Supply Store, and here is their information. And I will place a link to their website in my description box below. And if you use my code Amy when you place an order, you'll receive a 12% viewers discount. Everything I use with my orchids comes from them, and I really appreciate my sponsor. So let's get right into today's topic. I have my 20-year-old GCT Lawless Gloriana. 20 years I've had this plant. Then I have my no ID from Patrick. I call him Sir Patrick. And then I have my Mami Akatsuka Volcano Queen from my friend Sharon. And she's a young plant. She hasn't had a bloom cycle yet. I'm hoping that maybe she's going to bloom in the spring. The new leaves and bulbs have already formed on these plants, so this is the time to scale back on the fertilizer. I've been fertilizing them this summer while they were in active growth at about 250 parts per million at every watering. So now I'm going to decrease it to about 160 parts per million every other watering. And in between times that I fertilize, I'm going to be using just CalMag at about 55 parts per million and no nitrogen source. I'm also going to stop using the seaweed extract because it acts as a growth hormone, and these aren't going to grow anymore. These are already mature. The reason for this is when the new growths are mature, there's no need for much fertilizer. Last year I wasn't paying attention, and I fertilized them too much after their growths were complete. And I got some brown leaf tips. So I thought, note to self, check these early in September to see if the growths are mature so that that doesn't happen again. And see, right here is a brown leaf tip that I had to cut off. That's what happens when you fertilize them too late into the year. So I was watching a video by Nina this week. Her channel is Ninja Orchids, and she was talking about this very thing, to cut back on the fertilizer when your Cattleya's growths are mature. And that little bell rang in my head. Let's see how far the Cattleya growths are. And they are all mature at the end of August. It's really early for that, but they're already done growing for the year. So Nina, thank you so much for keeping me from making a mistake and fertilizing too much when they didn't need much more fertilizer. Sometimes all it takes is just a video to remind you, go check your Cattleyas. So I've changed my yearly Cattleya reminder to my August calendar because these have matured quicker than they ever have in the past. So how do you know that your Cattleyas are happy and that they're growing well? The new growths for each year should be either the same or larger than the previous years. The new growths on Gloriana and Patrick are larger. I'm actually having to stake up Patrick. His foliage is so tall. So I know they're getting the right amount of light, the right amount of water and fertilizer throughout the year. All these Cattleyas are growing in New Zealand sphagnum moss, and I water them once a week. The tip to growing them in moss is not to overwater them. I use a 3-ounce solo cup when I water my Cattleyas so that I don't overwater. I can't gauge the amount any other way. Volcano Queen here is watered about 8 ounces, and she's in a 6-inch pot. Patrick, he is in a 6-inch pot as well. He gets watered about 8 or 9 ounces every week. He has more growth, so I need to water him just a little bit more. And Gloriana here, who has her own zip code, she gets about 12 ounces every week, but she is very large. So I water just until the water stops dripping through the holes in the bottom, and then I stop. And I have them in outer pots that are raised on the inside so that all the extra water drains away from the plant. I don't ever leave them setting in water. Moss gets compacted down when it's overwatered, and that's plenty of water for these pots. Now, if the humidity is high, like it is right now here in East Tennessee, and it has been all summer long, they might require even less water. So it's dependent on your environment and your weather. So all I do is I just lift the pot, and it's so easy to tell. When it's just the weight of the pot and the plant, when it's very light in weight, then you know it's time to water. I keep good air circulation going in my sunroom all the time, so I water them every 7 or 8 days in the spring and in the summer. I check them more carefully in the fall when the humidity changes and the weather starts cooling down here. Shriveled bulbs are an indicator that the plant isn't getting enough water. So the lifting the pot technique is the best way to gauge that your orchids are getting enough moisture, enough water in moss. And so many of you have asked, how much light do these get? They are getting the brightest light in my sunroom. They get bright dispersed light most of the day, and these are western facing windows. So these are the brightest in the whole room. So it's really going to be interesting to see when Gloriana blooms this year, because she already has 5 new sheaths formed. So I wonder if it means that she's going to bloom early. She usually blooms every February. So this year I might have a holiday blooming Cattleya. And I'm just wondering when Patrick and Volcano Queen are going to form their sheaths. Cattleyas are really, really fun to grow. I just love these plants. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. And Nina, thank you again. I won't have brown leaf tips this year. I'm very, very excited. So thank you for that reminder. Several of you have expressed interest in me adding the thanks button on my videos so that you can support my channel that way. So I have added that as well. And I just want to thank all of you for watching, for your friendships, and for your kind words. You all are my orchid family. And before I end the video, I'd love to say the blessing over you, your families, and your plants. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. You all make it a great day. We'll talk to you next time.